Beautiful friends, welcome, Satnam, Hola. I am so happy to be here with you once again today. I hope you're all doing well and having a fantastic day. We're not quite through the month of June, only a week through the month of June, and already we are seeing so many crazy events unfolding with more and more predictions coming into fruition. It's been quite wild the past week, wouldn't you say? Last month, I saw visions of a huge wave coming. I did a Tuesday topic on a huge wave coming. And several months ago, if you recall, I had visions of a dam being blown up and a wall of water coming from a dam. And this sadly just played out in the Ukraine as a dam was bombed, sending a huge wave of water through the streets. But is there another one of these coming? Perhaps a totally different country than over there in Europe and totally different circumstances. Perhaps it could be China, or worse yet, perhaps here in the United States. We're going to talk about that today, and the topic that you're not going to want to miss on this whole entire subject. Y'all likely recall my predictions revolved around the major train accident, and I made predictions and had visions of a major train collision occurring. I compared it, if you recall, to the train accident that happened back in my old hometown right outside of Philadelphia. It happened in Philadelphia, though. I lived outside of Philadelphia. And it reminded me of that. And there were, I forget how many killed on that particular train accident. But when I made that prediction, that's what I compared it to. And sadly, as you know by now, two trains did collide, this time in India, with about 300 fatalities still counting. Was this really an accident? We're going to talk about that. Some interesting stuff that you're going to want to hear today. I made predictions around some of my past visions of a plane being shot down. I talked about several different plane accidents and incidents that would occur in the future. Potentially several planes actually being shot down or falling from the skies. And as you know, on Sunday, a plane allegedly crashed in Virginia. Allegedly. Or was it actually shot down? What is it the case? Because it seems like they're throwing a lot of UFO stuff out the past day or so, as if they don't want you to talk about what happened in Virginia with the plane. So we're currently witnessing another cover up, another pack of lies? We're going to talk about that today. And in the past, I talked about coming strikes, major walkouts, if you recall. I also have been warning y'all for years now of upcoming shortages. I started to warn you in early 2020 of shortages that were going to come, and we're starting to see that already play out. Well, major walkouts have occurred at ports in California, big ports, major ports in California. And this is definitely going to cause a ripple effect on already shortages that we're already starting to see and experience. So what's going to come out? What's going to come about of these walkouts? Are there more walkouts coming? And what about the airlines? And my predictions revolved around that. And more importantly, what about companies like UPS, FedEx, the United Postal Service? Any of those. We're going to talk about all those today. I got some important information to give you on that. So during my week 7 of my Spirit Speaks Masterclass with my apprentices, I had a very wild and interesting shamanic journey. They're always wild and interesting. And if you recall, a couple of years ago in 2020, I did videos of me and my students doing shamanic journeys together with specific focuses and intentions, and got information. One of those things that came together from our shamanic journeys was the La Palma volcano exploding, which was described in detail by myself and my students. So I'm going to share with you what was actually came to me in the shamanic journey and the warning of upcoming events. I'm going to share this, and today, along with what my spirit guides and allies just revealed, is coming in the near future. Remember, I said that there would be future water wars. Remember the water wars? I said that, I think, back in 2021. I believe I said that in my New Year's Day predictions, world predictions. The Spirit told us to keep a close eye on the waters. Remember? Spirit kept insisting that we keep a close eye on the waters, that water was going to be disappearing and it wasn't going to be natural from droughts. We were told that water was going to be stolen in large amounts. So, well, wait until you hear, friends, who's been stealing water from our aquifers right here in the United States and right here in Arizona. It's not China. I'll give you a hint. It's, to me, a little bit more shocking than that. We're going to talk about the water wars and what's to come with that. Past visions I had of an attack against churches, religion, and Christianity especially. And I told you I had a vision of a church that was going to burn in the United States, a historic church, and maybe even one over in Europe as well. Well, I told you some shocking truths that were going to be revealed around all that as well. Well, a historic church in Massachusetts, a 160-year-old church in Massachusetts, was allegedly struck by lightning. But if you go back to my predictions, that's not exactly how I said it would play out. We're going to talk about that incident and this alleged lightning strike that burned down a historic church in Massachusetts. And speaking of Massachusetts or politics in general, this season's going to get really dirty, is what Spirit told me. It's going to get really dirty coming to America. And it's going to get dirtier than ever. And I'm going to explain this and a whole lot more today on this Triple T's, Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time predictions update. And we're going to dine in episode number 69. Can you believe that far ahead we are already? Episode number 69. Today is June 6, 2023, and it's running a little late today. It's 1:21 p.m. Pacific time here in Arizona. When I'm recording this, you should be watching it about hopefully 5:30 if it uploads fast enough. But you'll be watching this evening sometime. Anyway, I welcome you to my channel, back to my channel. My name's Joseph Tittel, and I am so happy that you are all here with me today. And again, I hope you're having a really, really good day. Down below in the description, you'll find all the links to my social media, including the Awaken Your Spirit community of my supporters who make this free content possible for all of you. Those folks, the folks that join down below in the community on YouTube, and all the people that through Chat Cash, PayPal, would not make this possible. So we thank you with infinite love and gratitude. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude for your love and support. Also, a little reminder, make sure you subscribe down below, because if you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, and you found the perfect tribe, smash that subscribe. And on Thursday, this coming Thursday evening, I'm going to be doing a live World Predictions Q&A that you're not going to want to miss. This is me and you live on Thursday taking your questions. Of course, questions are going to start with people in my Subscribe Star community first, followed by members of the community down below. And eventually I will do this Q&A at least once a month, perhaps every 2 weeks. We'll see how it flows and how popular it is. So be sure to subscribe and make sure you check me out live on Thursday evening, probably 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's probably going to be the time, actually. Perfect time, actually. So moving right along, sometimes there's a point where everyone may need some therapy. Wouldn't you agree? Sometimes everybody needs a little therapy. And right now, due to the changes that are happening on our planet with the climate, did you hear that carbon dioxide is seeking therapy? Do you know why? Because it's feeling a little trapped in the atmosphere, friends. Dum-dum-dum. Moving right along, on Saturday night, we welcomed in the full moon energies, and they came in and felt intense, really intense energies from this full moon, just as Spirit warned that the energy was going to be over the weekend. And it was quite heavy, has us feeling a bit sluggish and taking long naps, if you noticed. The energy's great now. It's definitely boosted over the past day. But those first few days, starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the energy was really sluggish, heavy, and I went to take a nap, and I never take naps. I went to take a nap, and it ended up being 2 hours long. Then it screwed up my whole night pattern. Didn't sleep at all Saturday night after the full moon. Yeah. So you may have had similar experiences. But this, once again, has brought us more clarity when it comes to our intuition, and as well as pretty major effects when it comes to our dreams and our dream states. Remember last month we were told to pay attention to our dreams that more and more folks would continue to experience or begin to experience prophetic dreams, dreams of the future. And I want to thank each and every one of you who has shared your dreams with me through the comments. And thanks to some of my family friends for allowing me to interpret your dreams for you as well. It all links together. So with this energy and this full moon and everything that's just happened over the past month and a half, we are definitely in a new level of consciousness. It's quite exciting, actually. So over the next week, perhaps the remainder of June, we're going to sadly see the increase of the angry energies that I spoke about in my June predictions video. If you missed my June predictions video, be sure to check that out. You should find that popping up somewhere up above in a moment or two. But you're not going to want to miss that. A lot of you did miss the June predictions. So remember, it's really important to stay grounded. And as we do with shamanic practice, ground, shield, and protect yourself. Keep other people's energy out. And most importantly, even more importantly, is to check in with your own emotions, especially when it comes to relationships. Remember, relationships is a huge focus in the month of June in the 4 vibration that we're in numerology. So expect there to be new storms to begin to develop over this coming week, especially here in the United States. I see major flooding coming to the continent of Asia. Major, what do they call them over there? Cyclones or whatever they're having over there. They're huge. They're not having them yet. But Spirit says these storms are going to start breaking out. Things are happening just over the next week. And then towards the end of the month. So floods, Spirit showed me he's going to leave another dam at risk of collapse. I think that might be in China. Spirit warns to watch for several huge world events to take place this coming weekend, especially on Sunday, June 11th. 611. We all know about the 11 numbers. If you've been around long enough in the master numbers, I got a lot to tell you about that today. Actually, some really wild information I discovered that you're not going to want to miss. Revolved around the dam specifically. Just some numerology and some numbers that are pretty shocking. I thought were pretty shocking. We'll see what you think when I go over that later. But so Spirit said to watch Sunday the 11th, but also a warning to watch June 14th here in the United States. I don't know why. Hopefully, maybe next week I'll get more information on that. And hopefully. So let's start off with the wall of water and the dam. Because as you recall, you heard it here first. I said months ago that there was going to be a dam that was going to be blown up. And last month I talked about a wall of water, which I really still believe is more connected to a tsunami. But there again, I wasn't there standing there when the dam broke. That could definitely be a tsunami effect. But I did say that last month. One of the topics of the show was a great wave is coming or something like that. So as you may know or probably know by now, sadly, a large dam in the Ukraine was allegedly blown up from the inside by Russia. I also remind you that Spirit's warning that I said for June's predictions, that there were going to be 3 flags that fly ever so falsely in the month of June. So could this potentially be one? Not sure, but check out this article. Ukraine says Russia blew up major dam from the inside, endangering thousands of people and, of course, a nuclear plant. Ukraine on Tuesday accused Russian forces of blowing up a major Soviet era dam, and a hydroelectrical power station. This also goes back to predictions I made about power grids going out. And again, I got more information on this. Just hold on tight, friends. So Ukraine says that Russia controls sending water gushing the breached facility and risking massive flooding. Ukraine authorities ordered thousands of residents downriver to evacuate. Russia claimed that it was Ukraine's military that damaged the Nova, I can't say that other Russian word, dam, something Ukraine's president rejected, of course, arguing it was impossible to destroy the facility, which has been under Russian control for months from the outside. Interesting, right? Sad, actually. Sad more than anything. So was it Russia? Russia, Russia, Russia. We hear that a lot. We've been hearing that for years. Or was it one of those flags flying ever so falsely that Spirit told us was going to happen in the month of June? Could it be one of those? Well, we just all had a recalibration of our energy and our DNA over the past 6 weeks. So, therefore, this has heightened your intuition. You are more psychic now than ever before. So, you tell me what you think in the comments down below. What do you think? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Moving right along. Speaking of dams and walls of water, this brings me to another past prediction I had about dams that came to mind. I'm pretty sure it was January. Well, yeah, it was January last year, actually, that I made predictions where I saw a vision of the Hoover Dam. And if it wasn't my January prediction, it was definitely early last year that I made that prediction revolved around the Hoover Dam, because I saw an explosion in my visions. And lo and behold, if you recall, on July 14th last year, there was an explosion at the Hoover Dam, just as predicted. But right away, people thought it was a terrorist type of event, but we found out that it was alleged to be a transformer that exploded, which would make sense. I mean, totally. But at the same time, I still continued to have those visions. And this year you heard me talk about dams being exploding, and we just did. We just saw an explosion. But I also saw an explosion in a vision, again, related to the Hoover. Separately, after that explosion happened on July 14th of last year. So, to me, it felt like a much larger one, and it felt more sinister. That's the word. It felt more sinister to me. Not accidental, but sinister, purposely done. And you got to keep in mind that if something were like that were to happen to that one, it'd be just like the UKR, where they're going to lose power. People are going to lose their ability to access drinking water. And it's quite an infrastructure attack. It's really sad, actually. So let me share a few different things that I think is very significant here with the Hoover. Because, we talked about a larger one coming. And to me, again, an attempt of somebody to take it out. So is this future approaching? Is it coming? So let me share you some significant Illuminati symbolism. Illuminati. Illuminati. There's actually a song like that. It's kind of sinister. Speaking of sinister. So I did some numerology revolved around, I don't know, I just had this weird, bizarre idea to do the numerology around the word Hoover and around the word dam, and the words put together as one. And I looked at every aspect that I could of the name and when it was built and all that to see if there was any symbolism there. And of course, there's so much symbolism with the Hoover Dam, friends, so much. So the word Hoover actually breaks down in numerology to, you guessed it, the number 11, if you guessed it. Very easy, because we know about the 11s, the 22s, the 33s, the 14s, numbers used prominently by the Illuminati or the Freemasons or the psychopathic sickos or whatever you want to call them. So Hoover Dam. So the word Hoover broke down to an 11. The word dam by itself is a 9. Nines, of course, are endings, death of cycles, letting go of, getting rid of. But now think about this for a second. Hoover 11, dam 9. Flip that around and what do you got? 9/11, right? Just saying. Now let's put the words together and do the numerology of Hoover Dam together, which adds up to a 47. You add the 7 plus the 4, and what do you got again? The number 11. Coincidence? I doubt it. Now, here's the other thing that I thought's interesting. The dam was completed in the year 1935. 1935 happened to be a 9-year in numerology. There's your 9 again. Again, Hoover Dam spelled out as an 11, and there, reverse it, you got your 9, and you got your double ones. Again, weird, right? Kind of strange. Kind of perfectly aligned, though, at the same time. And don't the Freemasons do everything perfectly aligned with everything? Also, if you look at the towers from, say, the sky looking down, not the towers, you look at the dam. On each side of the dam are two twin towers, both two twin towers, which kind of twin towers make sense to those numbers I just gave you, right? But two twin towers on each side also looks like 1111, a number that is a high vibrational number in the angelic realm and in the realm of ascension. So every year on November 11th, there's always an ascension that happens for us on the planet with our conscious minds and our subconscious minds. Often we get DNA recalibrations like we just had recently around spring equinox and that whole cycle that we were in. That's why, again, your intuition and all has been heightened. So here's a couple other interesting things. Besides those towers on each side looking like numbers 1111, at the same time, there's a plaque out front that's basically, there were 100 men, I think it was 100 people that died building that, at least 100. It might have been over 100, but definitely 100. And there's a plaque out front with a man that's emerging out of the water with his arms out like this. On each side of him are the two towers. I guess behind him is symbolically maybe the dam, but he's emerging out from the bottom of the waters at the base of the dam. Now, some in conspiracy world, if you put your thumb over the head of the man with his arms coming out, it then turns into what appears to be Baphomet, one of the evil demons that they worship that looks like the head of a goat or a ram. So you be the judge. Again, that could be conspiracy or could be something to it. Something coming and emerging, giving birth, because that's another thing that's very symbolic about the Hoover. If you, again, look at it from a distance in the sky, looking down, say from a drone, it looks like a woman with her legs spread giving birth. And then that sign just concludes that that's what they're talking about as well. Now, what else was there? So also there's two huge, gigantic, kind of semi-creepy looking angel statues. There's something creepy about them. You can go online and look them up for yourself, and there's two of them. Some, again, in the world of conspiracy, believe that they are the fallen angels. But you be the judge. But I remind you, again, that I also remind you of the water wars that I talked about, and I predicted about 2 years ago that we would see in the future. We would see it in the Middle East, but we would also see it globally. And think of an attack on Hoover would not only be a huge attack against people's drinking water, it would be a huge power grid attack. And it would also, of course, be another attack on America like we saw back in the year 2001. So right now, we should be concerned more over an attack on the dam over in UKR just happening. We should be very concerned over that happening for several reasons. Knowing that this same exact tactic can be used again, and not just against the UKR, but perhaps against America or say somewhere in Britain like the United Kingdom, because they have it out for them too, and they have it out for all of us, really. They meaning the evildoers. I'm not talking about the different people fighting in the war, but I'm talking about the evildoers that pull the strings behind the curtain. So if we think about this scenario and think about this scenario and turning it into a flag that flies ever so falsely, right? Remember how we said this was going to happen? Not just in June, but we see flags that fly in the wrong direction all the time, right? You know what I mean? Wink, wink. So think about this. Another type of attack, again, that's blamed on the same party that's being currently blamed for the wall of water that went through the Ukraine. I mean, whether they're responsible or not, but think of that as an excuse. Hypothetically speaking, now we have an excuse and we have a scenario that already played out that we can add and play out with it. See what I'm saying? They keep pushing it down our throat. So I believe two potential dates that would be a date that I've been first starting with a date I've been warning you about for years, and luckily so far nothing's happened, and that's on Independence Day, an attack on Independence, July 4th. But when we look more and more deeper, as I looked more and more deeper into the symbolism and all this, and I probably will eventually do a big video on this, but when we look at it, what I see more is those two towers on each side in the 1111 connection. And to me, that would send a very negative ripple effect happening on that date, November 11th, because it's a very amazing positive vibration that comes in every year on that 1111. So the twin towers would make it sound even more so the case, with the two towers representing the number 11 on each side, right? It's kind of really bizarre. But lastly, on this subject, I remind you that just recently, 30 tons of explosives back in May suddenly disappeared and went missing from a train. And not just one train, friends, multiple trains. A perfect amount of explosives to pull off such a horrific feat, right? Besides, how does 30 tons of explosives suddenly disappear? That's not just one train car, folks. That's several train cars full of explosives. Just disappeared. Where'd they go? To me, it would have to be an inside job that's backed by the psychopathic agenda. I mean, that's just an easy guess. You don't even need a psychic to be guess that one. Lastly, on the subject of walls of water, I see a vision of a huge wave, as I stated in my weather prediction video. So if you missed my weather prediction video, I'm not going to go into details now, but definitely go back. And I do have some stuff related to my shamanic journey at the end of today's broadcast, but check out my weather predictions. That should be popping up here soon in a moment too, so check that out. Speaking of weather, or water at least, water and water wars. So wait until you get a load of this insane BS, friends. You may recall my predictions again of water wars, but most importantly, my team spirit guides just warned us not long ago to keep our eyes close on the waters, remember? Spirit said that our water was being stolen right out from underneath of us. Y'all remember this? You got to remember this. Keep an eye on the lakes. Remember, Spirit said keep an eye on the lakes and all the waters, that they are actually stealing the water from beneath the ground. And we can take this two different ways. We'll get a load of this right here in Arizona right now, where we already have worries of waters and concerns, especially over the Lake Mead or the dam and all that, and the sharing of the waters. They were fighting over that last year when everything was in a drought. So we already have issues. So you're going to be shocked when I tell you who's actually coming into our country, United States of America, and probably not just ours, yours too, Australia, no matter where you are. Australia, mate. So Arizona, already again having drought concerns. And now they're stealing water right from beneath our feet here in Arizona. And again, you're never going to guess who it is. And I'm going to tell you, it's not China. If you guess China, guess again. Because we already know China owns Nestle. And I talked about this like a week or two ago. And Nestle steals all the water and sells it back to people. It's, they've been banned in many parts of Oregon and Washington State have banned Nestle. So we already know that. We're already aware of this. This is more shocking because people aren't aware of it, or it's being hidden or secretly hidden behind us. Shocking, but not so shocking is what I would say here in Arizona. It's the Saudis. That's right. The Saudi Arabians are buying land, draining the aquifers, and shipping the water back to Saudi Arabia. If they're doing it in Arizona, they're doing it somewhere else too. Now, this is, of course, why they won't tell us the full truth. And here's a couple of articles on that. What happened to this article? That article disappeared. There it goes. So, this is really wild. Arizona announced limits on construction in Phoenix area as underground water is disappearing. Okay, underground water is disappearing, says Arizona officials, who announced on Thursday that the state will no longer grant certifications for new developments within the Phoenix area, as groundwater is rapidly disappearing amid years of water overuse and climate change-driven drought, or because Saudis are stealing the water in Nestle company and taking it all from us. China and Saudi Arabia is drinking more water here in the United States than we are. I guarantee you. That's where it's all going. So a new study showed that groundwater supporting the Phoenix area likely can't meet additional development demand in the coming century. Officials said at a news conference. Governor Katie Hobbs and the state's top water officials outlined the results of the study looking at a groundwater demand within the Phoenix metro area, which is regulated by the state law and tries to ensure Arizona's housing developments, businesses, and farms are not using more groundwater than they should be. But the Saudis are, and they're getting away with it. This is my next article. Saudi company is drawing unlimited Arizona groundwater to allegedly grow alfalfa amid drought. So if they're using more, this doesn't make sense, friends. This just doesn't make sense. That it's just because they're growing alfalfa. They're pumping it out. I guarantee you what's happening. Farms in western Arizona are growing alfalfa, one of the most water-intensive crops in the area where there's a shortage of water. Some farms are foreign-owned and are shipping the crop to Saudi Arabia, where it is illegal to grow because it uses so much water. So that's also thievery right there, if you ask me. Grow it in your own country. That's what I say. Grow it in your own damn country. Like, WTF, friends. WTF. Now we know why and how Saudi Arabia was so successful. Are you aware of this? Because it's pretty interesting. They were so successful in engineering a hot desert and making it into lush farmland, beautiful lush farmland. And not only that, for the first time ever, Saudi Arabia is now an exporter of certain fruits and vegetables that are now grown probably with our water. Makes a lot of sense now, don't it? When you put the pieces of the puzzle together, you don't, again, need to be psychic to figure it all out. So Saudi Arabia becoming an exporter of fruits and vegetables, but where's all the water coming from? Where's all the water going? Saudis and the Chinese are both, they can't be the only ones. Again, remember what Spirit told us. They're not the only ones or the main ones that are actually stealing the water or the rights to our water. Remember what Spirit told us that was going to be, that water was going to be stolen and diverted through some kind of underground system that we don't see. Because they're digging all kinds of cities and crap beneath our feet. For them and their little elite friends, while the rest of the world suffers. It's pretty sick. If you look back at history, this has happened before. Thousands of years ago, they found all kinds of underground cities that they know had livestock and all kinds of stuff in them. And again, the alleged city that I showed you in one of my videos that I took you in with video, we didn't get into the whole city, but we got into part of it, right? In that video, billionaire bunkers and safe zones. So check that out too, by the way. Let me move on here because I don't want to take up too much time because I got to get this uploaded. We already been here half hour. So pay attention. Spirit said, remember, to the waters disappearing through being diverted through underground tunnels to their elite's own private underground reserves. Spirit still says, pay attention to the lakes, as Spirit did warn us that there'd be sudden drops globally in certain lakes, like Lake Powell and Lake Mead. Unexplained drops in water, like it's not supposed to drop that much that quick. When that's happening, that's what Spirit says. That's unusual drops of water is validating all of this to be true. So let's move on to trains, planes, and automobiles. Needed some water. I forgot to make some tea. Would you like some tea? It is tea time. Remember the accident-prone energy that I told you all about and my team Spirit told us all about, warning us back in April that this was a planetary influence that still has a presence on us and that accidental energy. So again, be mindful, be careful, don't do things that could easily cause an accident. I mean, we can have accidents anytime, fall on a banana peel or whatever. Just be mindful. So there's less accidents and the emergency rooms are less full. But first, we have the horrific tragedy that just took place in India, which aligns perfectly with my past vision that I described in a prediction of a tragic collision. So if you recall, the vision reminded me of the horrific train incident that happened in Philadelphia years ago. This, of course, the one in India is way worse, but that's kind of a comparison. So we also got to keep in mind that even though it seems that there's all these train derailments are not uncommon at all, friends. There's actually over 1,000 a year of train derailments, so it's not uncommon. What's been common this year is more of the trains with toxic chemicals or trains with explosives going missing, things like that. That's a little odd. But two trains colliding together, that's a totally different story. That's not common, especially one that takes over 300 lives. And that's what we had that just played out in India. India's worst train crash in 20 years shows how its railway misspent safety funds. But really, did they? Is this what it really is? An old report by the country's official auditor, now in focus following a deadly train crash, indicates misspending of funds by Indian railways while safety suffered. Following the June 2nd accident that killed at least 288 people, Railways has been accused of not spending enough on safety despite funds being allocated for the purpose. For the purpose. I can read today. There you have that. But all I can say, friends, is pray for those poor folks in India and those that are suffering through this tragedy. And I can also tell you without a doubt, 100%, that there's much more to this story than anybody even knows at this point in time. And we can only together hold in the light that we see the truth revealed in the circumstances. And again, if you missed my special investigative piece that I did, it was a good one. It took me 2 weeks to do. Train derailments in secret underground high-speed railways is the video. I'll have it pop up here in a moment. You're going to want to watch that video because that video will give you a good, clear example of who could likely be responsible for this horrific incident and collision in India. So check it out. Moving on from trains to planes, friends. Moving on to trains to aeroplanes. I won't fly in an aeroplane. Anyway, we heard of the alleged plane crash in India. You all heard about that, but come on already, friends. Come on already. Do I have to nudge you a little bit? Come on now. Was it really a crash? Was it really? Probably not. Because I'm going to take you back to my previous predictions. And once again, the visions that I shared with you of a plane being taken down. I saw visions of it. And it wasn't a military plane going on at war, because of course there's planes being shot down over in Russia, Ukraine all the time. But no, that's not what I was talking about, as you know. And I shared those visions of the plane. Perhaps I also said multiple planes separately being shot down. And some falling out of the sky, just falling out of the sky. So this here story from Virginia is a case, in case you're not aware of the story in Virginia or the details. But even more concerning about this story is who the family is actually supporting. Yeah, this just came out today. Prominent Trump donor's entire family killed in a plane crash after being intercepted by F-16s over D.C. Come on. The government don't send out, the military don't send out F-16s to intercede a plane that suddenly runs out of gas and crashes, because that's what they claim. They already told you the route of the plane and where it was going. It wasn't out of gas, friends. Come on now. Just saying. A frequent donor of the NRA and the Republican politicians and causes told reporters that he had lost several family members when a private jet crashed after flying over restricted airspace Sunday. Restricted airspace. Oh, the military got lucky and it just went down in a remote area where nobody could witness. Just saying. Wink, wink. So John Rumble told the Washington Post that his entire family was aboard the Cessna Citation that crashed near Montebello, Virginia at 3:30 on Sunday, approximately 3:30. There's that 3:3, probably happened at 3:33 exactly. I wouldn't doubt it, but anyway. Multiple outlets, including the New York Times, reported that Rumple's daughter, 2-year-old granddaughter, and nanny went down in the plane, as well as the pilot. The UK's Daily Mail identified the daughter as Adina Azarian, 49, and reported the Rumpels had lost their daughter in a scuba diving accident when she was only 19 years old. That's so sad. The jet was owned by Encore Motors in Melbourne, Florida, which Rumpel and his wife own, according to federal records. But big supporters of DT in the Republican Party. I find that very, very interesting. And the NRA, big supporters. Just saying. Just saying, friends. Unbelievable, right? Oh, itchy nose. So where am I here? So say what you want. Again, say what you want, friends. Say what you want. But anyone who actually believes for 1 second that this plane actually crashed because it ran out of gas might need to check in and empty out that crack pipe. Just saying. Because, just saying. I also want to remind you of another thing, too, that's important, is that it did go down in the middle of nowhere. There were no witnesses to see, just like the alleged Pennsylvania crash in 2001. Just saying. So, as you know, the alleged plane crash was preceded by a very loud sonic boom that was heard over Washington, D.C., which we all know now because they're admitting to it already, that the sonic boom was alleged to be the military fighter jets going into full throttle so that they can intercept the plane in Virginia or shoot it down in time. So therefore, we now have explanations for the loud sonic booms that have been heard globally for the past few years that people have been reporting all over the place, right? Big sonic booms all over. Now we know that, we should know this anyway beforehand, that this shows us that the governments are experimenting with the speed of light. No doubt, probably entering into different dimensions with their little UFOs that they built and did themselves. Speaking of UFOs, you saw that story today, right? Big story thrown out that UFOs are definitely, the whistleblower that came out. I told you there was going to be a big whistleblower about UFOs. But did they put this out on purpose? I'm going to say they did. This whole UFO story. Do they just want to take your attention away from them having to shoot down a plane or some other thing? Or some other sick plan that these evil agendas have? I don't know. You be the judge. So we first thought my prediction would make most sense to be an event playing out in Europe again because of the war. That's what our first thought would have been. But I do warn you that this could still be the case. There could be another one because I did say multiple. I felt like there would be multiple planes. But don't let this at all prevent you from traveling, having a good time, and going about your daily life and being joyful. Because when you go into fear and you worry about things, what ends up happening is you end up attracting negative experiences and negative events to your own world. Don't want to do that. So if you want to travel, travel. Don't let predictions or let one plane out of thousands a day that fly throw you out of your desire to travel. So the other day I was walking my baby girl, precious Mary Jean, who's now 16 and a half years old. Unbelievable, right? Anyway, I was gazing at the mountain back here behind my house. I got a mountain here, red rocks out front. I was gazing at the mountain and I just had this whole vision of a plane crashing right into the side of the mountain. This was 2 days ago, right? Yeah, it was over the weekend. So Saturday or Sunday. Which was the same day that the plane happened in Virginia, but from the pictures that I saw online, it didn't look like it crashed into the side of the mountain. Again, did it crash? I don't believe so at all, personally, but that's my personal opinion. And right now, we still have our ability to have our own personal opinions. Last I checked. I don't know why that made me laugh. So I saw this vision of a plane crashing into the side of a mountain. And I saw it playing out in front of me like real time. So I certainly hope it's not literally the mountain out back of my house. That would be awful. It'd be awful to see happen anywhere, actually. But if it were actually playing out in real time in front of me, it doesn't mean it's the actual mountain. My visions come to me in all different weird ways and randomly, and I run to my computer and write it all down. But I doubt at all this was related to what happened in Virginia. I do believe it's something completely new because, as you know, my stuff usually the only one predictions that come true right away often are the weather predictions. Others take a little bit longer, and I just had this vision this past weekend, so I would expect this to be at least a couple weeks out. I don't know what kind of plane it was. I don't know what the situation was, but I just saw what I just shared with you. The vision was clearly a plane again crashing into a mountainside. But it also reminded me back to 2001 again, to that period and the towers and the planes and all that. It just for some reason reminded me of that. I don't know why. But not that it's connected or anything. But if I wanted to look at this deeper and interpret this a little deeper, with reminders of the past, we could determine this as being a purposeful act, something that's being done on purpose. Not that it's, so that's how I would take it. For some reason, India kept jumping out at me all day today, including when I was writing this particular prediction and channeling this information from Spirit. And we already know they're dealing with a huge tragedy already, but could there be another on the way? Could this be related? Time being a plane crash into a mountain region out in India, maybe? We'll have to see. But only time's going to tell, and hopefully we can all hold in the light together that it doesn't come into fruition at all. I'd rather most things not come into fruition, but sadly they do. So here's an article about speaking of airlines, let me open this up. Speaking of airlines, I hope you're having a good day so far today. American Airlines struggles with pilot deficit and grounds 150 aircraft. This was just this weekend, right? But American Airlines is having more issues and more issues, no pilots, as I told you about before. And I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But let's just talk about shipping goods and shipping ports and shippers like UPS and FedEx. And did you know UPS and FedEx are merging as one company? They're going to change the name to Fed Up. Ha! But on a serious note, people are truly becoming fed up. As again, we talked about in January's predictions, people are going to get tired, they're going to get fed up, just like, Spirit told us was going to happen and that we were going to witness people getting fed up and becoming angry. Now we're in an angry energy right now. So we've already seen in the past since January walkouts already and some strikes happening. So I got news for you. There's a lot more to come, friends. In the future times, we're going to see more and more crowds of people taking to the streets globally. Spirit showed me visions of cities and people just taking to the streets. And this was going to become a global epidemic of sorts. People finally stepping into their power and screaming loudly, "We've had enough. We're not doing this anymore." In an attempt to take our power back and bring the power back to the people where it belongs. Power of the people left the people a long time ago. We need to get that back. And we must keep into check, when we take to the streets, when people do take to the streets, we got to keep in check so that the elite doesn't use this against us as a way to bring about civil wars. Because that's what they want more than anything, especially here in the U.S. They want just a global war, and they want one within our countries. All countries, not just the United States. Speaking of fed up people and FedEx and workers at UPS and so forth, workers who work several of the major ports in California have walked out and are now in contract talks. Were you aware of that? I was surprised I wasn't aware of that. It just showed up. I don't know where it showed up in front of me, but it showed up in front of me. I was quite surprised. This is, as you know, just going to add to the ripple effects on our supplies and major shortages. Spirit shows me visions of shipping containers today that were filled with rotten, expired food. Like, WTF? Like, what the heck? And then Spirit showed me that since 2020, there has been so much food that has rotted away that you could feed an entire nation for a year on food that's rotted away at ports and places since 2020. This will, of course, again, bring about more shortages and more inflation, exactly the way the evildoers want it to be, because they're prepared, friends. They got the billions of dollars to build their bunkers and stock up on money and tons of money to build and have everything they need. They're set. They don't care. They don't care about you. We're set. We know it's coming. We're set. That's how they think. It's pretty sick. So, speaking of underground bunkers, people are still asking me where are the safe zones to live. I have clients that, y'all, and if you do want to book a session with me, make sure you check out my newsletter down below where you can sign up for the newsletter where I often put out specials and things like that. I just put out a new newsletter. That link's not below. The last newsletter is the June newsletter. I just put out one talking about the 4 vibrations and such. So you want to sign up, it's free. And you'll find information on private sessions in there as well, or on my website. So going back to people keep asking me about safe zones. And all y'all that are asking me that, you missed the video. I did a video, Billionaire Bunkers, Safe Zones in the Future Maps of the Earth. I will get that linked up above for you as well. You're going to want to watch that. It's a good video, and that shows safe zones. It's a good video. It shows 3 different, it's like 3 stories in one. I worked really hard on that, so I hope you liked it, those who watched it already. So we again see the predictions of walkouts and strikes happening in places now that are actually vital to our infrastructure and to our survival. That's our ports. And we already know the results of empty ports and no activity. And now imagine what this is going to do on top of it. This brings me to shipping companies like UPS, UPS workers are fed up. I'm sure FedEx is fed up too. And likely the same goes for FedEx, but workers and delivery workers too, all the workers, but delivery workers at Amazon too, because Amazon has their own little delivery services. So they're also going to be having some issues, and there's going to be a rise of controversy over workers who are tired of working for practically nothing. UPS workers may actually be the first ones to step out and be the influence over the other company workers that will follow in their footsteps. Someone has to be the influence and the first one to take the step, and I believe it'll be UPS first. I would tell you to expect huge changes to come around all these companies, and those also including the United States Postal Service, which is already having major issues finding workers and delivery workers. I know that the gal down here at our post office said that at one point, this was, I don't know, about 6 months ago, they were down 7 routes. I'm like, that's bad. That's not good. And now, the United States Postal Service has these private contractors coming in. You don't even have regular postal workers anymore, but, regular mailmen or mail ladies. We do have them, but a lot of them now are private. Out here, they're private contractors. And there's one guy out here that owns all the contracts. Apparently, he's slacking off. Had some bad people that were already fired or walked out, and so I would tell you to expect issues when it comes to the United States Postal Office and others too. Again, UPS and such. But also, I would tell you that there's going to be a huge merging of these delivery services in some way, or a huge buyout of some sort. And of course, huge changes that are going to come with it as well before they move on to the next phase of delivering everything to us through drones. And the final phase of you only getting your food and everything delivered to you by drones. That's their goal. Just go to the World Economic Forum's website. They'll show you. You're going to like it and be happy. You're going to own nothing and be happy. Yep, you're going to eat bugs and be happy. That's what they tell you. They're in for a huge awakening themselves, aren't they? Because I know that ain't happening here. Come out shooting with bells on. Anyway, a huge buyout of some sort and some big changes. I also feel that this is, again, a big part of the psychopathic agenda. Merging companies together gives us less opportunity and variety to choose from. Eventually, it forces us to be dependent on one company providing one service with much higher fees. We used to have many electric companies to choose from, and now you only have one. This was back east, or I'm just giving you examples. We used to have many oil companies to choose from. Now it's all OPEC. They own it all, right? So it just seems to be that that's what they do. They narrow everything down. We're all, same with communications companies. Like here in the United States, we have Verizon, Comcast, and AT&T. But we have already seen merges happen with these companies, and other little guys disappear. That's what they're doing. So be aware. I would also tell you again to expect much larger and more effective walkouts that will occur. We must do this in order to step into our power and place our power back on the people. As I said before, expect airline employees to also walk out and strike. And soon we will see a large meat manufacturing plant or company, perhaps part of the no meat agenda. We're going to see a big walkout or strike related to that food processing plant, major meat one. And again, I feel like this is actually part of the no meat agenda of the Illuminati. Ooh, I'm trying to scratch my head and I can't. Duh. Anyway, fire. I predicted a coming attack on churches, if you recall, here in the United States, but throughout Britain, United Kingdom, along with attacks on religion, more so on Christianity and Christians. And we've been seeing that. But I told you that there was going to be historic churches that would burn to the ground. I told you that one would be alleged to be hit by lightning. But if you remember, Spirit told us that they're going to say it was hit by lightning, but it was really going to be an inside job. So is that the case of what happened over the weekend in Massachusetts, where a 160-year-old historic church burned to the ground? It crumbles as a 160-year-old church burns down. Where's the article? Oh, it's not an article. It's a video. Oh well. I thought I had an article here to read for you. My bad. I should have looked at it before I copied it. But yeah, that's what happened over the weekend. So was it really literally struck by lightning, or was it struck from the inside? Or perhaps a purposeful act against a religious institution? Because they have ways of doing things to make it look like, oh yeah, lightning, but really it was a drone strike. I'm just hypothetically speaking. By the way, I'm not saying that's what happened. Just saying. If you remember years back, the fires that happened, I think it was in California, somebody that's a big YouTuber caught a video of them basically lighting the fires with drones. So is that the case here? Somebody walking outside. You be the judge, my friends, but I will tell you that you be the judge, but also be mindful of these villains prancing around our churches. For there's certainly much more to come, unfortunately, in accordance to my past predictions revolved around churches and those attacks. On the subjects of fires here in the United States, dozens of states just put out an air pollution warning due to the huge plumes of smoke that are blowing in from Canada. Even more fires breaking out. And remember I said in the past that about arson and lies? So Spirit shows me a vision of a white. This was really weird today. I saw basically coming out of the ashes of a burnt forest, like a phoenix coming out of the ashes, but it was a white flag blowing in the wind. I thought that was kind of interesting. I was expecting a phoenix, not a white flag, but I'm not sure exactly what this symbolism means or what this vision, other than possibly being a flag that flies ever so falsely. As if Trudeau, for example, and his little gang ignited it on purpose, perhaps. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and we'll move on to the world of politics. How many more pages? I'm almost done here. All right. Almost don't count. Only on horseshoes and hand grenades. So politics, things are going to get really, really dirty in the way of politics, especially here in the States, but globally. Not that we haven't witnessed dirty politics in the past, but it's going to get dirtier than ever. And I'm going to tell you how. Sadly, what we're going to see is attacks on our own citizens and on infrastructure from the inside. And this, of course, is going to be blamed on parties that are not at all remotely connected to these coming acts of terror. So remember, when I say that, it made me think today of Disney World's Tower of Terror. Been to Disney World a few times, never go again. Been there a few times in the past, and that's my favorite ride. And I hear they did away with it or changed it, but the Tower of Terror, man, what a great ride. But it kind of made me think of that. So why would this come to mind? With the world's domestic. Oh God, I just had a brain fart. I need water. Give me a second. So yeah, Disney's Tower of Terror. So well, that's what came to mind. And that word, of course, Tower of Terror in Disney World. That word, that last word in that ride, and then put the word domestic in front of it. And that's what they're going to be throwing at us, especially during this coming season of elections and such, which is interesting because and sad because what comes to mind is not good. And Spirit warns us all to be very, very aware and do not listen to the propaganda that they are and will continue to push. And that's what Spirit said. So something that came to me too is a socialist society is being created right before our eyes. And the plan of the evildoers is to bring about a socially dependent, a society dependent on the government with a universal income, a basic income. And I know some people will jump right on that. Oh, I don't have to work. I get a basic income. Bull BS, friends. No, you do not want to say yes to that. That's their way of enslaving you, making you dependent, making you lazy, making you not want to work because you don't have to. People nowadays will not do something if they don't have to. They won't. And you don't really have to do anything. So you see a lot of people doing absolutely nothing. It's pretty sad. That 2020 brought it. 2020 brought us more vision in the future and so forth. So they just, they want us prisoners in their little prison system. Let me tell you about my shamanic journey that I had with my students. It was pretty interesting. Shamanic journey is a form of meditation where you lie on the floor and you utilize the heartbeat of the drum to get in different states of deep subconscious levels of trance. And you communicate with your guardian angels, your guides, your spirit allies from the animal, plant, and insect kingdom. And it's quite fabulous. And it's what I teach in my Spirit Speak master class. So in my journey with my students, it was the final week with my students, and I was flying first over a field of sunflowers with little babies. It was kind of really weird. I'm like, what's that all about? It was beautiful, but it was also a little strange. But it was from there that I went through this portal and I came out on the other side of this portal over Fiji in the Fiji Islands. And I landed on Mount Fiji. From Mount Fiji, I went through a tunnel with one of my allies, who was actually the dragon, and he took me into this tunnel underneath Fiji to meet this elder queen by the name of Queen V. I think it was Queen V. Pretty sure that's what they called her. But when I landed on this beach, and this beach was covered with red crabs. So I know there's something symbolic there, and y'all can probably tell me, maybe you live in a country where this happens, where the whole beach was all red crabs. And that's where she greeted me. I would imagine this is in Fiji, in the Fiji Islands, because that's where I was, and that's where she greeted me. So, if there's a specific area, I don't know if that's all the Fiji Islands or a specific island in Fiji where the red crabs come, but somebody do please let us know in the comments below. So she told me, Queen V, or B, or Queen, or whatever her name was, the Queen, told me that a big shaking was coming to Mount Fiji. She showed me a tsunami hitting Indonesia and another one hitting Alaska. She mentioned the month of August to me, so I would expect something that I had in this journey to happen in the month of August. I don't know if it's one of those I just said, but she also said that Japan was going to be rocked by a major earthquake that would cause part of Japan's end of it to break off or break in Japan somehow. She showed me that California was going to experience the same thing as well, which may be the August connection. And if it is, it may actually be on August 14th that a huge earthquake hits in California. Potentially. She also showed me cracks in the roads and the sidewalks and water gushing out from water mains and oil gushing out of a reserve. In the end, it was really strange because she told me Biden just died recently. And that everything that we're seeing right now is doubles and actually AGI technologies. That's what she said. I'm just sharing a shamanic journey with you. I'm not saying that's the case. But, you know, as to my past journeys with students back in 2020, the things we saw all came into fruition, all of it. So go back and check out those videos. I'll have to find them. I haven't looked at them in a while either, but yeah, creepy. Especially when we were actually focused on the elections. This was back in when we did that in 2020. We were focused on that, and that's not what we got. We all got information about Earth changes. It was really wild. And we all had similar visions in our journeys, like exact same journeys. It was really interesting, especially the volcano, and then La Palma happened. So there we have. Speaking of policies, did you see that YouTube just, speaking of politics, elections, and all that, YouTube reverses policy on censoring claims of stolen 2020 election, according to this article. YouTube has announced it's doing a U-turn on censoring content about U.S. elections, with the platform saying it will no longer delete posts questioning the results of the 2020 election, including claims of widespread voter fraud. The company made the announcement in a blog post on Friday, which comes about 2 months after it reinstated former President Donald Trump's YouTube account. Trump's account on YouTube was suspended for the week. Yeah, we know all about that. Blah, 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 blah. But I thought that was a pretty interesting story to tell you. There's going to be some type of major UFO incident and such that's going to take place and play out over the Great Lakes, my spirits have told me. And yeah, what's up with that recent disclosure? All this recent disclosure, and all of a sudden, I told you the United States did all that and all that. Now this guy's coming out as a whistleblower. I think the guy that's the whistleblower is an insider. I think he's part of the whole thing. So I wouldn't believe. I mean, believe what they're telling you is true. Believe it, 100%. But why now? Why all of a sudden? It's a diversion, friends. It's more than just a diversion. It's to take your attention away from one thing, but at the same time to place your attention on a new thing that they're planning in the future. I told you, an invasion. They want you to believe that we need to spend billions and trillions of dollars on weapons to fight aliens. That's what they want. They want you to believe that there's a larger threat outside of this country this world, outside of our planet, than the major problems that we already have inside our planet. There's more. Our threat comes from the inside, not from the outside, but they want you to believe that. Outside. I'm just saying. Going back to the speech that Ronald Reagan made, our biggest threat to bring people together is a space aliens, or whatever he said. So, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again, that an attack is coming on the power grid. Spirit reminded me of that today, and we seen that today with the dam that broke up in Ukraine. That's an attack on a power grid, because that supplied power. Probably drinking water as well. So definitely that prediction came into fruition, but that's probably why Spirit reminded me today that that's not it. There's more to come. And it's not connected to the war. It's outside of that. It's outside of Ukraine, outside of Russia, somewhere else in the world. Hopefully it's not what we discussed earlier and connected to the Hoover. But, you know, some of my visions of the future happen quick, some do not. I want to thank you for the things that you send me in the mail, including Allison C., who sent me this letter from, where are you from, Allison? You are from Florida, right? No, Arizona, Chandler, Arizona. Yo, neighbor, how you doing? She sent me this lovely discovery kit from Santa Maria Novella. Comes with these little perfumes and things, which I don't wear, but I did smell one of them, and oh my god, it smells so good, like so good. So these will be special occasion, and I thank you, Allison. But two others sent me cards in the mail, and I left them in my car. I apologize, but I thank you for your cards, your letters, your presence, your support, your love. Couldn't do this without each and every one of you. I welcome all the new members to Team Spirit and to the tribe. Thank you for smashing the subscribe, and thank you for clicking that like button. It takes a millisecond, and you know, there's one person every week that likes to click the opposite. That just doesn't say much for expressing positive energies and vibes. I love you, so I thank you for the like. I thank you for hanging out with me once again. Remember to join me on Thursday for World Predictions, Questions, and Answers. Going into detail, I'm going to channel the space, get my space all magical and ready for you, and connect before I connect with you live, make my sacred space, get into some trance mode, and hang out with y'all with Q&A. So I hope to see you there. Until the next time, be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Spiritman JT signing off. Remember to celebrate life, celebrate you, because you are important. We know mean people suck, so don't be a mean people. Be a kind person instead. I will see you in the future. My crystal ball told me once again that I will see you in the future. So until then, have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. Much love, friends.